So I'm speaking to you from Cape Town, South Africa, on a continent where most people are still waiting for a vaccine, and most healthcare workers on our continent have not been vaccinated. And I want to stress 4 points this evening at the activist rally. The first is that it's unbelievable that we are here again in the middle of a pandemic and a public health crisis, where vaccines are still not being treated as a public good, and unfortunately continue to be treated as a commodity, as if it's a piece of jewelry, as if it's a PlayStation or a car. That's just unacceptable. Even after we know what this approach resulted in at the height of the AIDS crisis, which basically left lots of premature suffering and loss of death needlessly, including our own colleagues, friends, and family members. And we simply can't have a repeat of that situation with COVID. In South Africa, the People's Vaccine Campaign of South Africa, which I'm part of, have just written today to various front-runner vaccine manufacturer companies that may supply the vaccines to South Africa and the region. We're demanding that they act with more transparency, that they are accountable to the public in South Africa and the region, and that they start sharing their vaccine know-how to scale up manufacturing on an urgent basis in the global South. We want information shared with the public. We need to prevent profiteering and hoarding in a pandemic, because we have been here with HIV before, and it doesn't really bode well for public health or for our continued livelihoods. It's having a devastating socioeconomic impact in Africa and elsewhere. And we really want to stress that these drug companies are not God. They should not be playing God. They should not be deciding who gets access and who doesn't. And they need to show us and disclose, as a matter of urgency, all the terms and conditions of all their licensing and all of their prices, because we're simply not going to accept a situation where we pay more for vaccines in Africa than people are paying in the EU or in Australia or in Canada. The third point I'd like to make is that Winnie and the senator and many people who have spoken before me, and thank you, Isabel, for your courage and your honesty and your solidarity, is that the movement to break down intellectual property and patent protections is gaining momentum, and people are scared of that. Vested interests are scared of that. Even the global scientific and public health community at the CROI conference at the moment, right now, are currently signing on to a declaration where they are not supporting vaccine apartheid and not supporting vaccine inequity in the world. Even the United Nations, the WHO, UNAIDS, the Vatican, civil society around the world, trade unions, individuals, faith leaders, people like Tony Fauci are begging drug companies basically and rich countries to stop blocking the TRIPS waiver, to relax intellectual property protections, and to be on the right side of history. And so we have 3 messages for them. Stop the hoarding, start sharing, stop blocking the TRIPS waiver. And you're correct, somebody pointed this out in the chat, that the TRIPS waiver is more than just about patents. It's about all intellectual property protections. So finally, we're calling on the 10 very wealthy nations that are blocking the TRIPS waiver, including the UK government, the US, the EU, Australia, Japan, Canada, Brazil, Switzerland, who are all of our trade partners in Africa, and some of whom are actually our colonizers previously, to appreciate the public health and moral crisis that we are in. Multinationals and governments cannot hold the world to hostage and to ransom any longer. It must stop, because the risk is that millions of Black and brown people's lives are now at stake and are now in their hands in the global South. So really, we are urging these countries and their trade representatives and their ambassadors and the people who work in these governments to stop blocking the waiver. History will remember each one of you. History will remember every CEO, every trade minister, every prime minister, every leader that blocked the TRIPS waiver, and history will not be kind to you, because you will be perpetuating an inequity which is costing human lives. People really have to come before profit. There has to be a prioritization, because no one is safe until everyone is safe. And at the current situation and status quo that we have is that global immunity is now at severe risk. Thank you.